So this week I had a friend suggest to me that I talk about auditions, because I have briefly touched on them in the past in a behind the scenes video, and kind of talked about it in a Q&A video, but not really. So I thought, hey, why don't I tell you how I picked my actors for this series? First off, I kind of have to thank the Leduc Drama Society for helping me so much with this, because they actually were very, very supportive throughout this whole process. A lot of the actors that are in this series are actually a part of the Leduc Drama Society, and they actually let me use their playhouse for the auditions in Leduc, which was a huge relief because it gave me a real legit space to do the auditions in, and that was really great of them, and I've just loved the support that they've given me throughout all this. So I did auditions in kind of like, there were 3 separate sessions of auditions. The first one I did in Leduc, the second one I did up in Edmonton, and then the third one I did in Leduc again. And the third one I did mostly because I didn't feel like I had enough selection from the first 2 rounds of auditions, especially I didn't have enough girls show up because I didn't feel like I quite had the right people for my lead female roles yet. So the first thing I had people do when they came out was fill out this form. And the form had their name, contact information, what roles they were interested in, what their schedule kind of looked like for the summer months, and other stuff they could bring to the table, that kind of stuff. The next thing I had people do was sign a waiver form because I was recording the auditions. And I wanted to record the auditions for a couple of reasons. The first one being that I wanted to be able to review the auditions afterwards and have it be fresh in my mind when I was making my decision of who to play what role. I also kind of wanted behind the scenes footage in case. And third was because I just wanted to be able to see what people looked like on camera, as well as see how comfortable they were in front of the camera. And then the next thing that I did was I would have scripts. And the scripts were basically scripts from the web series. I know some people, when they do auditions, they have people perform monologues or scenes from other plays or shows or whatever, or if it's a musical, you have them sing something from another musical. But I wanted people to be directly in the roles that they were going to be playing because I wanted to see how they would fit the characters that I created. So I chose different scenes from the web series where different characters would interact with other ones, and I'd have people read for pretty much any role. I'd have people read for Heather, and then all of a sudden they'd be reading for Emily, and then all of a sudden they'd be reading for Phyllis. So I kind of tested everybody out. If somebody had a particular interest in voice acting, and they filled that out on the form, then I would kind of make them read more of the voice acting than doing the lead roles. But I still kind of played around because I wanted to see different character combinations and actor combinations and all that different stuff to see what kind of dynamics I could get. That actually ended up being the biggest reason why I chose Anika and Amanda. By the time I got to the 3rd round of auditions, the one that happened in Leduc the second time, I didn't feel like I had my Heather or my Emily yet, and so that was kind of stressing me out. But the minute that Amanda and Anika started reading together, it was like instant chemistry. They just worked so well together. They would play off of each other, and Amanda already kind of had the no-nonsense psychology major thing down, and Anika was so good at doing facial expressions and being goofy like Emily's kind of supposed to be. So they just worked really well together, and so they were kind of an easy pick by the end of it just because of how good their chemistry was together. It was awesome. Voice acting was very different because you're kind of just looking to see how people sound together. So that was basically how I ended up picking people for that. Circumference was interesting because Aaron actually sent me recordings of him doing different circumference lines a long time before I did auditions, because I'd been planning this and he's a friend of mine and I know that he's always been into voice acting, so I kind of asked him, hey, if I did this web series, would you be interested? And then he sent me clips of him doing a whole bunch of the different characters, and his circumference was just so perfect.
I say, what have you got there, Phyllis? Did you send him to the corner?
I say, what have you got there, Phyllis? Did you send him to the corner? I say, what have you got there, Phyllis? Did you send him to the corner?
Neville was interesting because, surprisingly enough, I thought people would be totally into this at the auditions, but they just weren't. I tried to get people to do dinosaur noises and nobody knew what to do, and it was kind of hilarious because some people just would not do it and other people would kind of like stumble through it. But I mean, Caitlin was just all up in that with the whole hand gestures and the and everything, and it was just perfect, so I couldn't not cast her. When Craig auditioned, he actually auditioned in his own private audition because he didn't make it out to any of the other auditions, so he came over to my house and just read some parts and everything, and he did good dinosaur noises. I don't know how else to explain it. So their voices kind of matched each other, and I kind of liked having a female and a male voice together, like combining and making weird sounds and making different sounds. So I'm quite happy with how that turned out as well. And Ray, I felt so bad whenever somebody auditioned and like read as Ray, because the monologue that I had people do was the monologue that he's talking to Whimsy in episode 7, and it's so depressing. I mean, there's even more to the monologue than you see in the episode because he gets cut off, but I'd have people read this and it was so depressing, and it would just bring down the mood of the room, and everybody would be kind of like, yeah, after somebody read it. So every time I had somebody audition for that, I felt so bad because it was just like, oh man, I just don't. Mood killer right there. But Erasmus was by far the best one for it. He just got like the sad timidness down. He was just perfect for it, quite frankly. Okay, he was perfect. I did have other minor roles that I also had some people read different parts for. You'll see 2 of those characters in the next episode. But one of those monologues had the opposite effect of Ray's. It brought up the mood in the room, and everybody would be killing themselves laughing every time somebody read that monologue. So look forward to that in the next episode. So basically the way that I made my decision in the end was I had everybody's information forms and I kind of spread them all out and looked at them, and I had made a checklist of who had auditioned and read for which parts, and I'd also had separate note pages where I was writing on them what I thought about people when they were reading the different roles and where I thought they would fit best, who they worked well with, that kind of stuff. So I went through all of those notes and the footage as well and everything, and I kind of just came to a decision. And some decisions were easier, some decisions were harder, but in the end, I know that I got the best people for my roles, and it was awesome working with everybody. And I highly recommend directing something. I don't know, it was lots of fun to just be able to kind of see your characters come to life. And auditions are a really cool process, especially when you have people reading in the roles that you wrote, because you get to see people interpret your characters differently. Like, you get to see different portrayals of it.
I say, what have you got there, Phyllis? Oh, no, circumference. It's a backpack. I caught him trying to shove it in his pouch. I think he stole it from somewhere. Did you send him to the corner? I did.
And it's really fun to just, if you're open to it and you're open to seeing different visions of your characters that maybe are completely opposite of what you've thought, but somebody else interprets them one way, it's kind of cool. And sometimes you end up actually liking somebody else's portrayal better than what you had in your head. So it's lots of fun. And it's definitely, I was nervous, but it's not something to be nervous about because it's a really fun process. And yeah, I don't know, highly recommend. 10 out of 10. But that's pretty much all that I wanted to talk about in this video. I hope you enjoyed hearing me talk at your face. So, you know, like, comment, leave some questions for the Q&A video. That'd be awesome. We are going to be recording it next week. I'm not 100% sure on who's going to be in it. I'm going to be in it, and I'm pretty sure that Lyndon, the person who played the mother in the last episode, is going to be in it as well. I'm not sure who the third person will be yet, but I'm kind of working on figuring it out. So leave comments if you have any for any of us, or any broad general questions, anything. We will try our best to answer them. So yeah, that is the end. Awkward send-off. Wah! Making a night at the shack.